Okay, welcome everybody to another episode of Streaming Absolutes. First, I want to make apologies up front. We tried to have Howard on last week, and I've had a bunch of computer problems. The sting of this is that I was a Microsoft employee for 15 years, so whenever Windows gives trouble, I feel it at a deeper level. But we're very happy that Howard conceded to come back on the show this week, so we're going to visit with him. I want to remind folks, if you're digging what we're doing here, where we're trying to personalize these artists and show them in a way that can broaden the audience and bring this kind of music to more listeners, then go ahead and give us a follow or subscribe. It just helps us continue to be able to book these kinds of Class A artists onto the show and talk to them about their music. So with that, let me just say a little bit about Howard before we bring him on. So roughly 1997 is when I began to track Howard's career. Many of you who are his fans will know first band that we really became aware of was Blood Has Been Shed. Everybody knows, of course, his tour of duty with Killswitch and Gage. Went on in the band now Light the Torch. In my reading, I found that while Devil You Know was the band, and that a lot of those members went on, there was a pretty clean break there. So there's a real distinction in how they think about the group Light the Torch. And we'll spend a lot of time on Light the Torch today. And then real recently, there was a single called entitled The Blade with Jared Dines, which is super cool. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Just a couple of bon mots for this man. Work that he did with Killswitch, charted with The End of Heartache on Billboard at #1. That was a gold record. The End of Heartache was also a Resident Evil Apocalypse sort of main single. So for folks who are, especially on Twitch, who are fans of the franchise and the game, that's kind of a cool tie there. They were nominated for a Grammy for Best Metal Performance with that cut. They had another gold record with As Daylight Dies. Again, a Billboard charting hit 32. Their second self-titled album debuted at #7. They had another tie-in, cool game tie-in with God of War, Blood and Metal. So the point I'm making is that in addition to all the passion and sort of authentic music we're going to talk to Howard about, there's been a lot of recognition for the work, and I think that's worth saying before we get to the rest of the stuff. So with that as my preamble, I'm going to go ahead and bring the man on, and we will get underway. Howard, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you faring in this whole pandemic craziness?
I was doing okay until I heard all that stuff. I'm like, man, I didn't think about all that.
Yeah, that's not your job. It's our job to think about that. But yeah. Well.
Yeah, wow, that's weird. Yeah, I guess there's a lot there when you think about it. But yeah,
it's what it says to me is it kind of says that you live so much forward, to the new music and your evolving journey. You're not always looking back, but when you pause it long enough to do it, my friend, it's really impressive what you've accomplished with your music. So I wanted to be sure we got on the record.
I appreciate that. I mean, yeah, I'm always kind of looking at what's next. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing sometimes, but that's just me. It's like, oh, this is great, right? Now what?
Yeah.
That's just how I am. But doesn't mean I'm not grateful for everything that's happened. It's just wow. At times I like, oh yeah, I forgot about that God of War thing. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That Resident Evil. I think we were on the Jason versus Freddy soundtrack.
There was others.
A lot of stuff. Yeah.
There was others. I tried to trim it so we could spend more time with you. It just kind of hit a few of the peaks, but there's a lot
I was just kind of like, whoa, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think the fans like the fact. I mean, there's definitely. I was having this conversation with another big metalcore artist the other day. There's certainly fans that came into that style, and I actually am not one that would suggest that that's the all of the kind of music you make, but certainly you're identified with it to a degree. But there is some desire with some fans to from nostalgia to go back to some of the first albums that introduced them, because it was such a fresh, like, new sound. But the thing that I don't know that all fans are like me, but that I love about acts I love is that they're continuing to evolve and to do new things. And so not that I don't go back from nostalgia's sake to other records. But like my ending point that I'll just tell you now that I hope to build to across all this crazy questioning I have for you is I think that the work you're doing now is the best work you've ever done. Vocally, and I have some examples of that when we get to it. But I'm a vocalist myself, so I have a kind of a deeper appreciation for what you do, I think. And so I want to talk about that. But before we get to all the crazy music stuff, I wanted to kind of help people know a little bit more about Howard the Man. So I understand you're an avid fisherman. Is that still a true thing?
Yeah, I enjoy it. Haven't got to do as much of it lately, just because I've stayed pretty busy.
Yeah.
I think during the pandemic, and I really didn't relax. I just ended up working a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't expect to fly as much as I did during that, or record as much as I did. But yeah, I do like fishing. So when
You
I
just
get
don't get to do it as much as
actually,
you'd like.
yeah, yeah, I just haven't recently, but literally, is talking about it with a friend of mine today, and we're plotting a little trip to see what these bass are up to.
Okay. So are you the kind of guy that any kind of fishing, or do you have like favorites like trolling or bait and sinker?
Yeah, I don't mind trolling. I love just about any type. I'm just not good at fly fishing, but
Oh,
I love saltwater, freshwater, any of that. Just yeah, it's. I think I answered this best. It was probably a week ago. Someone said, "What do you like about fishing?" And I said, "There's no drums." Yeah, so that's why I like fishing. It's like, I don't hear a bunch of noise.
that's
And thing is, I
hysterical.
love the noise, but I have to get away from it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta take a breather. So yeah, fishing's just fun.
Yeah, the reason I asked about it is because I grew up on a lake. My dad was the one we were in our boat in our fishing spot before it got light in the sky. Um,
Hmm.
so I understand the sort of, and it's so quiet and tranquil. It makes a lot of sense to me. And
Yeah,
I think I read you've got some property in North Manitoba. Is that for fishing or is that just
yeah.
for getaway?
Oh, yeah, sort of fishing slash getaway slash yeah, kind of it's quiet
Yeah, no
and just
drummers.
away from everything. Yeah, it's, not that I'm like,
I
not that
know.
there's a particular drummer or anything like that. It's just, it's so loud. So yeah, up there is really quiet, and I had a place is just open up the door and right to the water, so I can just
That's
sit
really
on the
cool.
dock and fish, or hop in the boat and fish. And so yeah, and I like being up before the sun's up, so yeah, I enjoy that.
The reason that particular note hit me when I read it is when I was a boy, my dad took a trip to northern Saskatchewan, and he came back with a 22-pound northern pike that was the biggest fish I'd ever
Hmm.
seen, with teeth like a shark. It was crazy.
Oh
Um,
yeah, oh yeah. I've grabbed a few decent sized ones. Don't know if I've caught a 22 pound. I think I caught a 44-inch one though.
it
But
was the
ice fishing.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, that was the only fish my
Matter of
mom
fact,
ever. Go ahead.
my manager was there with me,
Oh, was he?
so I was. Oh yeah,
You
I
have
was
proof.
chasing him around the ice with a huge pike. It
Oh
was
man.
weird because he was like, "Hey, do you need a hand?" And I'm like, "I don't think you want any of this."
Yeah. Yeah, my dad told me he was sore by the time he got that thing landed. It had fought so long.
Yeah.
So, well, that's super cool, man. I hope you get a chance to get away, uh, sometime soon and enjoy the peace.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
Okay. Um, then I read that you sometimes when you're out there, you'll just listen to podcasts. Any really cool podcasts you've been listening to that you dig?
Just pretty much anything that just catches my interest. I do like history podcasts. I like any kind of humorous stuff. Your Mom's House is hilarious.
Yeah.
So I'll pretty much listen to just anything that passes the time or kind of pulls me away from music because I get obsessed and I won't leave it alone. So I have to find stuff that, so like I said, getting away from it and listening to stuff, it helps keep me from just being 24/7 in this because that's not good for me.
Yeah. Hey, listen, on a slightly more serious note, I read that you have had in the past some intersection with diabetes. Is that something that I think I read that that's not an issue for you anymore? Is there something you did with diet or exercise to kind of like work past that?
Uh, I'm I'm actually just kind of hyperactive for the most part.
Yeah.
Me sitting still is weird. So yeah, yeah, I haven't had to deal with insulin or anything like that, and it's probably been 5 or 6 years.
Oh, that's good.
Um, so yeah, it's not like I had a particular plan or anything like that. I just started remembering how much I like being outdoors and moving around, and so that was pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I move around a lot.
Well, that's surprising given what your performances.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to.
Touche.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. But before we get there, something you did that I thought was really, really cool is you did a collaboration with Killswitch on the Signal Fire that sort of addressed. It was kind of a thing in behalf of mental health. And I think we're getting past a place where that seems like a thing people don't talk about. And I don't need you to go into any of your own stuff. That's not my purpose. But I wondered, like, when you got together with Killswitch to do that track, which is killer track in its own right, was that the idea, or did you guys think that, hey, let's get together and just kind of light the fire one more time, and that just became a natural topic as a consequence of you wanting to do something?
I don't know. Basically, they had came to they were playing a show in Canada, and I was up there at the time. And Adam got a hold of me. He's like, "Hey, you want to come hang out?" So sure, came hang out. We hung out at the show, and after the show, and just nobody knew I was there. I just came and hung out, and that was like the first time we had all just kind of really been in the same place and took some time and hung out. So got to talk with Jesse for a while and then got to hang out with the guys. And so we're just sitting on the bus, just having a good time. And that's kind of when we just started all talking again.
Yeah,
We like Adam and I, when and Joel and I and Justin and I, we always kept in touch, but this was like the first time we were all in one place for a while.
yeah.
And so just hung out and it might have been I don't remember if the song that got mentioned during that hangout or not, but anyway, yeah, Jesse got a hold of me. It's like, hey man, got a song, love for you to sing on it. Think you could do it? My schedule. When do you need me? Tomorrow. See you then. So I flew cross country, recorded it, and that was that. Hung out a bit. Adam and I went to dinner. There you go. It that's how it worked out. So it's just like, hey, they asked, I'll show up.
Yeah. Well, it's a cool track, like I say, all in its own right, and some of the stated intention for it in terms of kind of a, I don't know, clarion call for folks who may be suffering or whose lives touch somehow mental health concerns. I think's a cool add to the music by itself. Okay, now I want to talk about your voice. So you you have a unique voice in that you are able to do the really, really aggressive stuff, like a lot of guys do, but you're also able to do a really, really clean, powerful tone that's got a lot of range, which a lot of guys do. But there's very few that do both really well. So you kind of, in my mind, you sit in a unique class of vocalists. It's not that the aggressive vocalists don't sometimes do clean, but I can't even think of another singer who has the same kind of rich strength and range that you have when when they decide not to do the, the aggressive stuff. So it made me wonder. Earlier in your career, it seems like you did more of the aggressive stuff, and I wanted to know how you decided to kind of approach vocals with that. We'll get to some of the other stuff in a minute, but how you began on this journey where you were, it's just, it's so aggressive is a bad word, but it's got that sort of growl to it, and it's like comes up from some deep place. I don't know, but it was that a choice, or was this just in fashion? How did you come by that approach?
Yeah. Wow. It's a good question and a very uncomfortable one. Talking about me is never fun. Um, and I mean, I started doing folks. I got asked to be in a band. I tried it and just kind of started.
Yeah,
Just started yelling and singing, and I don't know. It's just what I've always done. I've
just came naturally.
every band that from my first band, I was maybe not screaming as harshly because I hadn't really done it, but I started yelling and singing just right from the start of being in a band,
Yeah,
and then just being in bands in like the late '90s, or you call it whatever you want, metalcore, all that. I don't know. I just I was in a band that was very heavy, and I screamed a lot, but I'd still sing a song there. Even with like with Blood's Been Shed, there was almost always a song where I sang most of it or all of it, and
yeah.
I don't know, it's just something I've always played with. I don't know if I really thought a whole lot about it until like with Light the Torch. So it's like we purposely were like, okay, we want to distinguish this from what we were just doing. Let's make this more melody driven.
I was going to ask that very question because it feels like a conscious choice, um,
Yeah,
on the most recent stuff. And
yeah,
and this goes to the comment I made before, and this might be a bias of mine, but as much as I like the growls and the screams and stuff, and I certainly have their place, and I know that doesn't mean you're not going to do more of that. The most recent stuff I think is your best work, man. Melodically, hooks. There's just a strength to it, that I think is really compelling, and which leads me to my next question, and that is, I watch a lot of vocalists, and a lot of them there's passion in all these guys, and they're all good in different ways and different reasons. But when I watch you, one of the things I really love is it always looks really authentic, like meaning I feel like I'm getting to see Howard Jones bare his soul a little bit when he's doing this, and I'm not suggesting everything you write is, autobiographical, but I'm just wondering, like, are you just channeling emotion? Like, I'm kind of wondering where this authenticity comes from, because it's unique. I think it's one of the reasons people relate to you so well when you sing.
um, wow. I appreciate that, and it's once again very uncomfortable. Um,
Sorry, I'm not trying to do that.
I don't know. I I don't know. I think music to me, I love when music has a feel, and when it emotes,
Yeah,
and to me, it's like this is an aggressive genre of music, if you want to call it that. But I love being able to express so many different types of emotions in the songs, just whether it's sadness or anger or exasperation. It's just I like it when you can feel what a song is. And it's just it
yeah.
conveys an emotion. So I try to put that into what I do. That's probably the best way to describe it without making it some ethereal explanation, or just
Yeah,
uh,
too much
you know
psychoanalysis.
it's yeah, I don't want to do. It's just, yeah, I'm really trying to convey what I'm feeling so that you feel it.
It comes
I
across.
try.
It comes across, man. I mean, every time I watch a great vocalist, you can, they're pros, and they're investing it with emotion, whether it's anger or grief or whatever. There's just I just wanted to be sure I said when I've watched a bunch of your music in preparation for our conversation today, and when I look into your face, there's a little bit different feeling, like you're communicating something of yourself, and so whether that means you experience those things or you're just tapping into the emotions, um, it's really great for the listeners. I'll just kind of leave it there, and especially when we get to see you live. Um,
Uh, I appreciate that.
and
I try.
it sounds like you're all self-taught. This is all just you learning on your own, or have you done anything formal at all?
No, it's pretty much just me. Yeah, I've I've been asked that stuff in some interviews, and I've heard lots of stuff. And wait, I'm classically trained. When did when did that happen?
Yeah.
It's like, did I suddenly miss years of life? Yeah, choir a bit in high school and sang a little bit in choir when I was in church when I was a kid. But other than that, it's just that's kind of the thing about being in hardcore bands and metal bands and the underground is just trial by error.
Yeah.
Is just play a lot. So yeah, whenever we, whenever we had shows, you just went for it. They were some of them were great, some of them were terrible, but you just never turned down anything. That was kind of where you know it's where you
Yeah.
kind of it's the proving ground, I guess. So playing in basements and garages and VFWs and backyards and all that. I done all that,
Yeah.
and but that's I think that's how I learned was just on the job training.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the reason you get the comments that he must certainly have done some training is you have this roundness and this fullness in your voice that's commonly associated with people who've done some classical training. So you're just coming by that naturally, and then of course when you're not doing the more screaming stuff and you're leaning into your clean tone, it just kind of it is more suggestive of that. But it doesn't surprise me, given all of the sort of trial by fire you had, that you have the strength in the voice that you do. Um, Now that you're like these years down the road, is there anything you do to like try and keep the voice in shape, like whether it's practice or warm up, or isn't that just not part of your regimen?
It should be, but uh, unfortunately for like my peace of mind, or I tend to not do that.
Yeah.
It helps, and there's times I've done a little bit of warming up, like in the studio or maybe a little bit before, but 99% of the time I don't, and where it should be transposed. I should 99% of the time I should be warming up, and then maybe once 1% I don't. But that's
Well, it's working for
foolish.
you, man. I mean, if you're able to go out and tour with the approach that's working for you, then more power to you. I think it's who's to say what's the right way. So
Yeah, I it's just you shouldn't do that. It's not it's not professional. I'm not condoning this whatsoever. The thing is, it is something I think I am going to maybe try to approach a bit,
I couldn't do it.
and
I couldn't do that.
yeah,
I have to warm up.
I don't enjoy it. I just don't. So
Yeah, it's not fun.
it's like what? Yeah, it's like, well, why am I just tiring my voice out when I'm going to do that later? Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's always been my thought, but it's something that I may approach at least lightly and see how it goes.
Yeah. All right, let's start talking about the music itself. I want to hit on some of the earlier bands before we get to light the torch. So with Blood Has Been Shed, when you look back now, how do you regard that period of your career, just at a high level? Is it
Look back at it, fun,
okay?
yeah, and yeah, it's really the first time being in front of people in a very intimate way like that. I mean, and all the incarnations of us up to Blood's Been Shed.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where you first really start learning how to yell and sweat in front of people.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that it was just a learning ground. That's where you first start trying to figure out how to write songs and then you if you look back on it you realize how bad you were at it. But there was a purity in what we were doing. We just wanted to convey we just wanted to convey what we were thinking and feeling in heavy music. So
Yeah.
there was no agenda, there was no motive. It was just let's go make lots of noise. So
S-
yeah, that's what it was. I love that part of it.
Yeah. Is there any part of it that you're glad you've left behind?
Um, no, I don't think of it that way. It's just everything evolves.
Yeah.
So I don't look back on any of that as like bad or it was a good time.
Yeah.
And it's part of how I learned to do what I do.
So I'm sure this has been documented, but maybe you can give us the 11-second, like, how did you make the leap to Killswitch? Was there an open audition? I honestly, it's something I should know, and I just don't.
Uh, um, yeah, Jesse had left. I'd heard from a couple different people, including Carl Severson, who worked for Roadrunner but also ran Ferret Records. And it's like, yeah, Jesse had left. He's like, man, I think you could do this. I think this would be a good fit for you. And so then I said, I guess I could give it a shot. I mean, I didn't know where it would go. I wasn't that forward thinking. It was more of just like, give it a shot, see what happens. Lesman Shed was doing stuff, but not a ton. We had slowed down quite a bit just at that time being. There was just a lot going on. So we weren't really doing a whole lot. And so I believe I talked to Mike D. And he's like, yeah, we've been holding auditions in New York, but you want to just come to Mass and we can hang out and you can do it. So came, we recorded a couple songs. Then I came back, I think a day or two later, did a couple songs. And we went and grabbed something to eat. And as I was driving home, they were like, "Hey, you want the job?" And I said, "Sure." Can you learn a set in a week? I don't know. And next thing you know, learned a set, and then off we went.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Kind of a rock star moment there. Um,
It was interesting. I didn't expect all this.
the they had already, of course, started to establish themselves. They had a following. I think we kind of documented up front how much that grew and how much success the group had once you joined. But how did you sort of insert yourself into the writing process, or did you? Because I suspect they already kind of had a rhythm for how they created the music when you joined the band.
Um, I don't know. Well, I do remember just starting to write and just like, wow, I don't know where I'm going with this. What do I want to do? And well, I had written lyrics. I think like when Darkness Falls came out, and for some reason that song just kind of fit some lyrics I had written in Germany, and so that song was that. But then and that was just like a was that for a movie? Yeah, I think it was for one of those movies. And so then it was getting put on the album. So we're writing of Heartache, and I just start getting demos, and I'm like, wow, I don't know what to do. And so I was talking with Adam, and she's like, hey man, you're in the band now. It's your band, your music.
That's
Like,
really cool.
and so yeah, he's like, so write what you feel. And I just remember like in the Heartache, I was like, this song's kind of pushing it, man. It's kind of it's kind of emotional, there's it is what it is. It's kind of a love song. And he was like, really? Like, yeah, I don't know if the guys are gonna like this. Like, it's it's a bit much. So he heard it and he said, wow, you weren't kidding. He's like, I think they'll like it. I'm like, really? Everyone liked it. So it
That's
worked
so
out.
excellent.
And so it was just really taking a shot and with writing something along that lines, because I kind of that's kind of how I write, I guess. And they gave me the freedom to write that way. So it was nice. They just
Yeah.
accepted what I was doing, and if there was a problem with something that I write, they say, hey, it's just everyone has say.
Yeah.
So it was nice. It
Yeah.
worked out.
That's really cool to hear because that's not always the case. So it's and it sounds like you continue to have really good rapport with all the guys. Is that true even still to today? I mean, I see stuff about
Hmm.
you and Jesse still being friends. Are you guys all still simpatico?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was kind of the bummer with the pandemic kind of ending the Killswitch tour. That we were only 2 days in with August Burns Red and Killswitch, and it was just a bummer to walk away from that. But yeah, we all still keep in touch, and I mean, we never stop being friends.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how to you know ask for help, or listen, or
Yeah. Yeah.
not be stubborn, that sort of stuff. So yeah, everything worked out for the best. But yeah, we all still keep in contact all the time, so it's cool.
That is cool. Um, yeah, and that when I referenced earlier that I'd been talking to a metalcore group that talks about how some of their fans are come forward from them with nostalgia from the first records. It was August Burns Red. I was talking to Brent Rambler the other day. Um,
Mhm.
so let's talk about Light the Torch. Um,
Okay.
I've got a question. So first of all, do you kind of do most of the lyric writing, or is that more of a shared responsibility with the group?
No, that was all me.
It's all you. So here's my
Yeah.
question. Oh, yeah, I've got a funny story later. Um, when I'm going through a bunch of the work, there's tracks like "The God I Deserve" and "The Great Divide," where the music video's got a bunch of cemetery imagery for the Dead and Broken, Judas Convention. So there's a significant amount of material that you're addressing that's got not necessarily religious undertones, but there's something about a struggle against despair, or a kind of darkness that's made where that makes the light shine brighter. I'm trying to articulate it in a way. It's not angst to me in the way that a lot of even other metalcore bands can be angst. It's more like defiance against darkness, and that could be like a listener bias. But there's enough of this that I'm wondering if it's coming from someplace in you. If you're trying to address something not from a psychoanalytical, it could just be like emotion or experience.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think I'm kind of fascinated with darkness and light in people and myself. Yeah, just that whole dichotomy is just interesting to me. How it's like how something or someone that can bring you so much pleasure can also be an absolute source of misery. And so, like, I'm fascinated by that on every spectrum. You know, just every sort of relationship, every sort of action, that sort of thing. It just covers a lot,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, it's not like I did that on purpose. But the more I've written over the year, I realize I'm like, oh, I think I'm fascinated by the human condition of just how we can do the things we do. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me, that's always the struggle. Like I always question it, and it's like, did I do the right thing? So for me, that's a question I ask in a lot of lyrics, I think.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's just striking a chord with me. I've been fascinated with that whole idea of that. I think is partly what you're talking about, of the duality of man, the whole Jekyll and Hyde. There's people who they do so much good and they're great people, but they
Mhm.
sometimes will do a thing and it's a head scratcher. And how do you reconcile those being the same person sometimes? Um,
Yeah.
anyway, you do a good job of articulating that struggle. So I, another like for folks who are listening to us today or who will catch us on the podcast or VOD later, if you haven't heard Howard, particularly in with Light the Torch, really I can't commend it enough. You should go and check it out. We'll get to some their forthcoming release here in a minute, but um, what it'll do is it'll lead you back to all of his work. But I'm saying that I think that like if you start more recently, you're starting with some of his best work. That's an opinion, but that's my opinion. Um,
But
yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
by the way,
appreciate it, but
that's
I
not to
don't. Yeah,
margin.
I just don't know what to say.
No,
That's
no, that's a comment. It's not like, and that's not to marginalize everything else, because I don't want a bunch of Killswitch haters
no.
coming at me. I love the Killswitch stuff, absolutely. Um, but I don't know. I guess you're like a fine wine. You're getting better with age, as they say. Um,
Um, I don't know. It's like for me, that's like I don't know. It's just uncomfortable hearing. I mean, I appreciate it, but at the same time,
well,
uh,
you know what I'm getting to do, Howard? I'm getting to say to you things that so many of your fans don't always get a chance to say. That's all this is.
I
This
feel
is
like that's a lie, but okay.
this is not hyperbole. Like people who listen to my show. I did significant vocal training, and I've done a little bit of touring myself, and so I kind of put the vocals under a microscope in ways that other listeners don't. So I don't blow sunshine up at anybody's butt. If I didn't believe that stuff, I would just talk about something else. So um, anyway, so let's talk about the forthcoming album. You Will Be the Death of Me. It drops on, is it June 25th?
June 25th.
Yeah. So tell us, well, let's start with uh, I've read some things online that in the sort of creation of this particular record, there were a number of different kind of trials, whether it's personal injuries or whatever. But I didn't get very deep into that. I wondered if you could just tell us a little bit about the journey to get to this record.
Yeah. It just with Ryan, Francesco, and I, with Light the Torch and everything we had been through with the band before, and this, and then uh, Francesco and his wife had gotten a pretty bad car accident, and I was going through a whole bunch of personal stuff too. So it was just a perfect storm. Um, and I didn't realize how much it would come out in what we wrote. It also, a lot of that has to do with the music that Francesco was writing, and then just how he was able to frame everything together once we really started getting the demos together. But yeah, because of everything that happened, it from the first song, it's like this album is going to have a darker feel. It's going to there's um there's almost anxiety in this album if you listen to it. You can hear a lot of frustration and things like that. But it's a lot of it came from real places, and I think everybody uses stuff that they've gone through when they write and everything. It was just we were struggling. It was hard, and watching like I went through all my own stuff, but just watching Fran too, just seeing physically what it was doing to him, and just it was hard to watch, and yet he was still writing and still doing every bit of the artwork, and I still don't know how he got through it. He's doing way better now. It's great, but yeah, it was just a lot of dark moments. So this album came from some dark moments.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk then about the first track that was released, Wilting in the Light. It's a very provocative title. Tell us tell us some of the, I guess, emotional underpinning for the lyrics in that particular track.
uh, it's um it's kind of just it's like, how do you convey just an endless cycle of frustration and there it was. But a lot of it had to do with just like the music, hear it and you just get a feel,
Yeah.
and I never know where the exact song is going to go. I generally don't have a specific topic when I'm writing, or just like, yeah, this song I'm going to write about this. It generally doesn't work that way. I don't know what's going to happen, even though I write every day. Just to keep myself in that frame of mind,
Yeah.
because it's kind of, sometimes it's a little hard to make that transition when you haven't written and then you're just looking at paper and feeling like I don't know what to do. But I feel like if I continue writing even a little bit every day, it's easier to jump into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just kind of jumped into it, and I think that may have been one of the first songs too, or at least in the first batch. But yeah, it also helped set the tone. It's like, yeah, this is going to be it's going to be a dark one.
What you're saying makes sense to me. The a lot of so I know that like with Rush, they would write lyrics first sometimes, and then sort of work the music back in. Most musicians I know do it the other way. The vocalist will kind of write to music, so the music ends up being able to evince an emotional response. So if you were responding to some of the music that your bandmates were writing, and that was coming from a place
Hmm.
of their own personal, pain or working through things, I can imagine you resonating with that. Um, do you? This is kind of an in the weeds question, but when you write, do you sort of get the melodies and your phrasing down, and then figure out how the lyrics are going to work back to that, or do you do the lyrics, write those, and then kind of figure the phrasing out against the music that way?
Guess it just kind of
Which
depends on
song?
the song.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, sometimes you'll hear the demo and then it's just there. Just lyrics and melody, they come easy. There's songs I've written in 15 minutes, and there's songs that have taken me months, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
you still think they're terrible. So yeah, I don't know. A lot of I said there are some songs I've had lyrics written and they just kind of transpose,
they
but a
work.
lot of times it's just listening, and then like a phrase will come, or just a certain melody, and then I'll just build off of that.
Yeah,
Um, in, but it's weird. It's like I don't use like a vocal recorder or anything like that, which is once again one of the dumb things. But for some reason, if I think of a melody and I start writing lyrics to it, I'll remember. I shouldn't trust that like I do, but because literally there's times where you'll write a song and then you're in the studio 6 months later, and but for some reason I'll remember what I wrote in my head for melodies, and they just, so I don't know where that stuff comes
yeah.
from. It's just
It's a
there.
it's not a fair question in a lot of ways, because you're kind of I'm trying. I love process. I love to hear about how
Hmm.
artists create what they create, and it always usually evidences the same thing, and that is that creative people have different ways they do things. So it's not that you understand it so you can replicate it, because creators are
Yeah.
different, but because well, I should speak for myself, but I know there's a lot of people like me, because we love what you create so much. There's just interest in how you get it done. So that's why I asked that particular
Yeah.
question.
It's a weird thing. I can't explain it. This sometimes it comes quick. But yeah, a lot of times it will just be like one phrase in a chorus or one phrase in a verse. It won't be a whole thing. It'll just be like 5 words, and so let's say it's not 5 words, but you will be the death of me. And it's like, huh, that's going to work in there.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know why, but it is, and it did. So
Well, fans are
I I can't explain that stuff.
no, it's
But
it's what
I
they call
got
it.
that phrase and then just wrapped the whole song around it. So that's how it worked.
Yeah, it's what they call sometimes ineffable. It's like it's not, you can't articulate it, but you know that you
Yeah.
can kind of trust the process because it's going to lead you somewhere, and you know you've kind of done it well because the consequence is this music that fans love. I wanted to do one call out when I neglected to mention when I was talking about your clean approach. You did this last December a cover of Simple Man by Leonard Skinner that is amazing.
Ah,
Uh,
oh,
all,
thank you.
all you Howard Jones fans, or even if you're not like listen to any of this stuff and you're just hearing about metal music or Light the Torch now, go check that video out. Howard kills it. That's a favorite song of mine, and so when I was kind of tooling around looking for Howard Jones stuff, um, I came across that, and wow, such a good example of your use of voice in a way that's different from how a lot of people I think have come to know you. Um, so so that's a good one. I'll stick a link to that in our show notes so that people can go find that.
Yeah, I gotta shout out my buddy Alex um, who basically does that episode podcast, and he asked me to do it because I did some vocal work on there as I do some voiceover stuff. So I did a little bit of that there, and he was like, "Hey, can you sing a little bit of Simple Man? Just we're gonna fit it into the storyline." And I was
Oh wow,
like, I guess so. Sure. And he sent me the music, and I was like, "What do you want me to do with it?" He's like, "Just do what you do." So I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I'm just gonna start singing some stuff. And so I just kind of went for it, and
came out well.
just kind of work some ideas out in my head, just kind of where I wanted to go with it, and yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, it's really well done. We want people to go get the Light the Torch record, but if they just want another side of what you can do, I think that's a good example. I'm glad to.
Yeah,
It's kind of
I
fun to hear
appreciate
where
it.
it came from. Um, I
Yeah, it was fun to do, and yeah, I didn't know it would be received the way it was, but yeah, it was just one of these weird opportunities that occasionally come across my path, and it's just like it's something that interests me, and if I have the time to do it, I do it. And that's been the lucky thing, is getting to do the band I do with guys who I consider family.
yeah
Just I respect and love those guys, and so like getting to hang out with them and get to know them in a way that I never expected. But then also getting to do all the stuff I get to do on the side. It's really cool. I've had some cool opportunities that I never saw coming. So yeah, just getting to do voiceover work and then sing a song that I never thought anyone would care to hear me sing. It's like been some cool opportunities.
yeah. Well, one of the funny things that happened is when I was just kind of looking around what YouTube shows when you look for Howard Jones. Um, you've got reaction videos. You've seen these people reacting to things. You've got more views on some of your reaction videos than artists have on their entire music, um,
Oh
because
no.
because this whole reaction craze is this very meta to me. That people are popular for reacting to other people's stuff, but it's a thing. It's a big thing, and there's a significant number of people who like to watch, your music, and it's all of it. It's Killswitch too, and just have these reactions to it. So you've got this sub fandom going out there that's really interesting.
That's interesting because I don't even watch my own stuff. I don't watch videos that I like. Hey, Howard, what do you think of that? Yeah, it's fine. And I'm out.
Yeah,
I don't watch it. It's just I don't need to look at me. It's
yeah,
like
yeah.
I even this is too much. Come on, I don't need this. It's just,
Well,
I just
I'm glad you agreed.
I just want to work and go outside. That's all.
Well,
Yeah, I seriously am the worst when it comes to that. It's like, yeah, check out the video, make sure there's nothing. I'm like, yeah, just tell me if I look completely stupid. And if not, I'm signing off because I don't watch it. It
Yeah.
makes me uncomfortable. So I appreciate that there's reaction videos, but yeah, I'm not watching it. It's just uncomfortable hearing and seeing myself. Not my thing.
Yeah.
Not my thing.
Well, we're we're getting close on time. I just have a couple of things. One, I want to tell you this kind of humorous story. I got a buddy who's a little bit older than I am, music guy too. And when I told him, yeah, I'm going to have Howard Jones on the show, he was so excited. He thought Howard Jones was the pop star from the new wave era. You heard this?
Bingo.
And-
Oh, I love
yeah,
it. I know who he is.
oh, do you know him or just know of him?
Oh, I know some of the songs, and I own one of his T-shirts.
Yeah, I was a big fan to be forthcoming about it. But yeah,
Oh yeah, things can only get better. That is a classic.
that album had so many hits. Yeah, that new wave. He was like a forerunner in that whole sort of musical movement. But yeah, I said no.
And he's still out touring a lot.
Yeah, he built a lot of fans. I remember going to one of his concerts, and it was one of those big outdoor things on the side of a mountain, and you couldn't get a spot.
That's awesome.
But I told my friend, I said, no, it's not that Howard Jones. But go check this one out. It's very different, but very good. And he did. In fact, the video I sent him was the Simple Man one. I said, here's a good intro. And he loved your voice, and then he started digging in. So I got you one more fan as a result of just your name from Howard Jones.
And I apologize to the other Howard Jones for stealing a little thunder.
I think you guys can exist in the same universe, musical universe.
Yeah.
Hey, a quick question. Do you guys have any formal plans for Light the Torch tour, or is it too early with all the COVID stuff?
I know. I think they're trying to figure some stuff out for us. Hopefully, we'll have something locked in place. Yeah. If everything's opening up here in the States, yeah, let's jump in on that.
Yeah, it seems to be. There's a lot of festivals that have announced lineups.
Yeah.
Obviously, something could change, but I think it's all really positive. I think so. We'll hope that you get out on tour, and if you do, you tell whoever's doing the tour routing to make sure they send you through Seattle, because that's where I am. We need to have We need to have you guys up here.
I love it up there, and
I'm sure you've been here plenty of times.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing. There's a lot of woods up there. I like that.
Yeah, there certainly is. Yeah, there's good fishing. There's good river fishing for salmon.
Oh yeah, and just Washington, Oregon. There's a few sturgeon floating around there.
That's right. That's right.
I need to get my hands on that.
Well, yeah. If you get a sturgeon, man, don't you even have to get a special license for those? Or I can't remember.
Yeah, it's not that you can keep them, or basically,
yeah.
I'm sure
Catch and release or something.
You got to release them. But yeah, it's just I want to catch a 100-pound sturgeon.
Yeah, awesome. It's like one of the few, if I remember my biology, one of the few like prehistoric fish that's still around.
Oh yeah, they're just dinosaurs.
So, last question is, what other creative, or maybe not even just creative, but what other mountains might you want to climb in your future when time permits? Could be a different kind of music, or it could be a different creative endeavor like painting or writing, or it could be just something entirely different. Is there something you want to do when your time allows you to?
Well, thing is, yeah, it's like if I'm outdoors, I'm pretty happy. If I'm not that, I'm probably obsessed with working or something. So for me, like I'm just enjoying like all the different stuff when I'm not focused on like the torch. So if something comes across my path that just seems interesting, yeah, I'll go for it. I may have to I may join SAG, just to start doing a little bit stuff,
Yeah.
Just bit acting work, or just it depends on the time and stuff like that. But also voiceover is something I've really been starting to dip my toe into. So that's just fun.
Yeah. Well, your voice is so well suited to that because it's got that, not that that's not the only kind of voice, but having that sort of deep, rich voice, I would think there's a lot of good roles for a voice like that. Um,
Yeah, that's why I've been pretty fortunate to get different work with just doing some voiceover stuff, and even like corporate gigs where I'm reading uh, whatever stock stuff for different you know Fortune 500 companies. So you're having a stock meeting and it's me talking about stuff. So I don't know. It's interesting. Um, I just like it, and I've been thinking about delving into like voicing the audiobooks and things like
yeah.
that. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, we'll see where things land.
Yeah. You should definitely do that. Part of my life that I don't talk about a lot, and I'm in this music focused show, is my writing. I'm a fiction writer, and a lot of friends in that world. And the whole audiobook thing. Audiobooks represent a significant amount of all book sales. So there's a
Yeah,
huge need for good narrators. So
yeah.
yeah, man.
I was buying audiobooks on cassette
Oh,
back in the
you
day.
really?
That's a yeah.
You're
I
committed.
was known for that. During Blood Has Been Shed, you could ask those guys. I was listening to books more than I listened to music.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just what I did. Yeah, because I'm around. I have that obsessive quality. So when I'm in music, I'm in it, and I'm. It's like I want to write. So when I need a break from it, there's like certain things I love, and so books. I love books. I love. So once I discovered audiobooks, it was all over.
Have
And when I used to make the trip from the East Coast back home to Ohio, I used to drive it all the time, and so I'd have a mapped out. It's like, oh, okay, I could get through an abridged book and a half because it'd be like it's like a 6 hour book,
yeah.
so that's an abridged book. Then listen to a little music, and then listen to another half, and there you go.
There
I'm
you go.
home. So had a nice system in place. But yeah, I went through hundreds of audiobooks like that.
Have you voiced any audiobooks yet?
No, not yet. Just
Okay.
working on it.
Yeah,
Working on
there's
it.
um and this is not new news, but over the past many years, particularly with the advent of things like Amazon and the ability to self-publish to their commerce platform, there's a huge market for voice actors because there's so many
Mhm.
independent authors who want to have an audiobook. So, like, you're a busy guy in all kinds of musical ways, but if or when you decide to do that, I have no doubt your agent can get you connected. It's real easy to find these communities online of independent authors. They're always looking for good audiobook narrators, and you'd be good at it.
Yeah, reading script and it's yeah, I don't mind it. It can be a little it's a little time consuming, and
Yeah,
if you're not into the story or what's being read, it can be a little mundane. But
yeah, for sure.
um, I don't know. If it's a halfway decent story, I'm into it.
Yeah,
So yeah, just it's something that I've slowly been starting to work on and starting to touch a few. Starting to touch a few people and find out what I need to do. It's like, oh, okay, so I need to make that sort of real, huh? All right, yeah, figuring out a few things.
yeah. I think those doors will open for you when you're not writing the next Light the Torch record or
Yeah,
doing a
I've
tour.
been. But that's something I wanted to do before music. I didn't know that. I wanted to voice cartoons and video games.
Oh, is that
That's
right?
what
Wow.
I always. Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
yeah. And once I put in about 150 hours on Elder Scrolls, I'm like, I want to do voices in this game so bad.
Oh man, you could do all kinds of roles, but like the low hanging fruit roles for you would be those like really menacing villains because you could just give that like some real teeth. It would be awesome.
Oh, that'll be fun. That's something I've been interested in for a while. It's just music can be a little time consuming, but
Yeah.
having the break I've had, it's been that's why I've been able to like kind of touch on a few things. I really did stay pretty busy
Yeah.
during this pandemic.
Well, I have no doubt that you'll have success there. And hopefully like some folks, since this is on Twitch, maybe some of the audience, are, in the gaming community, they'll hear this and they'll put that as a note in the back of their head for the next time they're casting the voices in their game. But having
Sure. Hey, I'm by studios all the time. It's kind of it's like pretty much wherever I stay, I stay there because there's a studio close to me.
Yeah. Well, that we're all glad of that. So Howard, I don't want to take any more of your time, but I'm grateful that you let me get through my technical issues and that came back to me this week. It was a pleasure to get to talk to you.
Oh, no worries, man. I appreciate it.
All right, so I'm going to play the outro. Hang tight, and we'll say goodbye after people get to see this next bit.
Okay.